Hello, everybody, and welcome to Where is Xur? I'm Ty Guy Travis, and this is a show where we talk about Xur, we tell you where he's at, and we look at his inventory together. Today you can find Xur in the tower. He's over here hanging out in the hangar over here next to some stairs. So let's go and see what he's got in store. Alright, so once we touch down in the tower, you're going to want to immediately take a left and walk down some stairs and through some hallways, and eventually you will arrive in the hangar where you will find Xur off to the left hanging out on top of some stairs. And here we are. Let's see what Xur's got. Alright, so first up, he is selling the Colony, a grenade launcher that has some very interesting mechanics to it, little bugs that run around and explode, so they can be pretty useful in certain situations. If you don't have this, pick it up. Then we've got the Gwisin Vest over here. This is a pretty decent hunter exotic, and the roll this week is pretty good. I mean, if you're not a mobility hunter, then you might want to take a look at this. 63 overall isn't the best for an exotic, but you know, it's not beyond the pale. If there's a pretty good chance, depending on how much you play Destiny, that this might be the best roll you could hope for. So consider picking this up. We've also got an Insurmountable Skullfort. Very good Titan exotic. However, the roll is not my favorite. 6 mobility might be a little bit too high for my liking, and 61 overall stat points is also very low for an exotic. So not excited about that. And then finally, the Skull of Dire Ahamkara. This is a decent warlock exotic, and the roll is not good. Similar to Skullfort over here, it's 61 overall stats, and nothing is really spiky, so it doesn't really stand out to me. Next, we're going to look at legendary weapons. This is Crysera Mello. I always have trouble pronouncing this one. I actually really like this roll this week. This is probably one of my top picks. Reason being, Dragonfly is always good. 4th time's the charm I actually quite like. On an auto rifle, it requires a steady trigger finger, but if you're decent with auto rifles, it's quite good. And then it's also got a range masterwork, which is my favorite masterwork for an auto rifle. So overall, I'm liking the perks on this one. I also think that the base gun here is pretty good, so you could do a lot worse. Consider picking this one up. GN7 rifle. I actually really like this pulse rifle. However, full auto trigger system is sort of a waste. I don't really like the roll this week, so I would say skip it. Farewell sidearm. Great sidearm, and this one's got multi-kill clip and moving target, which is a great combo. Not sold on handling. I've never really needed better handling with my sidearm. They tend to be pretty responsive, but you know, it's certainly not bad. So I actually quite like this roll overall. So this would be one of my recommendations this week. Empty Vessel. Quite a good grenade launcher. It does have blinding grenades, so maybe consider it. However, I'm not really in love with most of these other perks. Underdog is, for a grenade launcher. So, yeah, not my favorite roll. I'd probably skip that one. We've seen better grenade launchers in recent Xur history. First in, last out. This is a great shotgun. Certainly part of the PvP meta. I actually like this roll as well. Auto-loading holster is very useful, especially if you're in a time-sensitive environment and you want to be able to reload without actually hitting that X button or whatever console you play on. Eye of the Storm I also quite like for PvP, and so and then it's also got a stability masterwork, which is one of my favorite ones for shotgun. So this is a very decent roll and a very good gun. So if you're interested in getting yourself a shotgun, this would be nice. Also, it's arc, which there aren't. I guess there are a few arc shotguns, but in general, I often just have trouble finding an arc weapon in my inventory. So anytime I see one, I add some extra bonus points to that because it's just nice to see an arc weapon. And then finally, Temptation's Hook. They sell this sword pretty much every week. It always has pretty similar rolls. Buy it if you need it. If you don't, ignore it. And then finally, Gnawing Hunger. This is a pretty decent auto rifle. I don't really like the roll this week, so I would almost certainly skip it. And that's it for legendary weapons. Moving on to legendary armor, we're actually only going to look at the Titan armor this week, and the reason for that is If none of the armor is above a 62, I tend to just not really care about it. 62 overall stats. And both Warlocks and Hunters this week do not have armor that is over 62. They got some pretty bad rolls this week, so I'm just not even going to look at it. Needless to say, if you're a Hunter or Warlock main and you're wondering if Xur has good armor there, the answer is no, and you should wait till next week. However, Titans did get lucky. So first they've got the Gauntlets, which are 62. Again, I don't really consider this great. The chestplate is equally bad, actually even more so. 58 overall stats, which is definitely a skip. However, the helmet is 65. Normally, I like my mobility stat to be a lot smaller on Titan armor, especially. However, with the advent of Arc 3.0, speed is actually a factor you might care about on a Titan, so I would maybe consider picking this up. I also am a big fan of how well-rounded the stats are. Just overall, it gives you a little bit of everything, which is kind of nice. So yeah, consider picking this one up if you are a Titan in need of a better helmet roll. And then finally, the boots here. These are 63, which I would consider kind of on the precipice of even being worthy of looking at. However, the good news is they've got 20 mobility. So if you are, for some reason, building into a mobility-specific Titan build, these are definitely going to be something you want to consider. 20 mobility, that's quite spiky. It's also got pretty decent discipline. And then as a bonus, resilience, recovery, intellect, and strength, all the other stats, they're only 6, which is not as bad as you see. Usually with armor this type, you see a lot of 2s when numbers are this spiky on the other stats, but it's pretty well-rounded, which is my preference, certainly. And there you have it. Pretty short wrap this week, but that is Xur and what he's got this week. Hopefully this was useful to you. Once again, I'm Ty Guy Travis, and you can watch this show every Friday where we look at Xur. And for everything related to Destiny 2 and Xur and his inscrutable ways, stick with IGN.